Hey guys, Andy back from Mediocre Hobbies bringing you more old world content. This Saturday, which is today, the release of this video is the launch of the Arcane Journal for the Orcs. And I thought, what better time to show you guys how I would get a large quantity of Orcs painted in a timely manner. I'm actually going to do two different versions of it. So I'm going to show you guys how to get a model of an Orc boy to a very simple, very quick and very effective tabletop standard. Something that I would probably get the entire army to that first. And then I will show you how I will push it forward, adding some extra detail, making it look really nice. Whether you choose to use this, whether you use it on the first rank so they stand out, whether you use it on the entire army, or just on characters, that's totally up to you. Before I get into the video, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of my patrons. You guys are amazing. The community grows every single day. So I'm glad you're enjoying the extra behind the scenes content you get with that subscription. You also get access to a private Discord server where you can talk to me on a daily basis about your hobby and stay involved with everything in the goings on of Mediocre Hobbies. If that sounds like something that interests you, check it out in the link below. Okay, without further ado, let's get stuck in and get an Orc painted. Okay, these are the two Orc boys that I have. I got an Orc arrow boy who is still carrying a chopper, and then I got a two-handed weapon Orc boy carrying a, well, two choppers really, but a chopper and an axe, if you will, but they're both count as choppers. I believe these are actually from one of the old school Warhammer starter sets back in 5th edition, maybe. Yeah, don't ask me how I got my hands on them, they're extremely old. So, I got them all sprayed black, and then I sprayed them all with grey sear as kind of like a zenithal highlight. And then I started by applying base coats to the skin. With this, when it comes to Orcs, I generally tend to lean on Plague Bear flesh. It is kind of a natural browny toned green. I think it works as a beautiful base coat for any kind of Orc skin or Orc flesh. I've done it for a million different Orcs before. It's the same color I use for the base coat on my 40k Orcs, and I love the result. I'm not going to be layering them same as my 40k Orcs. I would like them to be, you know, a difference between the two different types, just so I don't have to paint, you know, 200 of the same kind of Orc skin models. But as you can see, it does leave a very nice color, and it does work a treat. Wildwood was then introduced for all of the brown clothy bits, so I decided to give them brown leather pants. Not leather, but brown pants. And then they've got belts and buckles and straps, or some of their wrist greaves are leather, and some of them are brown, and some of them are metallic. Just go around the miniature and try and find any bits and pieces that you want to be that kind of brown fabric-y color. Orc boys are definitely one of those things where you will have to paint an inordinate amount of them, especially when playing the old world, to field them. So I think learning a quick and easy technique to get the models around the table fast, I think is going to be key to the success of you getting the army done. Agros Dunes is the color, and this is the color I'm going to talk a little bit about throughout this video, as you swap this color out for whatever color you want to use for your Orcs. And by that I mean lots of people will choose like a primary color to base their Orcs on, whether that be red or blue or yellow or black, whatever. You take away the Agros Dune stage here, like the big cloth and fabric or whatever is jerkin or whatever bit you want, and swap it out for that. So if you wanted it to be red, you would have a red jacket on now as opposed to the tan one. I chose a really neutral tan color, just so it didn't look like he belonged to any specific Orc clan. And then your mind can run away with you in deciding where he actually belongs. A bit of Black Templar was then introduced for things like his leather vambraces, his boots. And I decided to do the shaft of the bow. I always like the idea of the term, they're wielding black bows, like black wood, rotten old, moundy wood, horrible stuff. But they somehow managed to make bows out of it. I always picture the arrows that hit Aragorn, that hit Boromir in the Fellowship of the Ring, those big black shafted arrows. It always screamed Orcs to me. A bit of Volupus Pink was used to paint into their mouths to kind of catch all the gums and all the bits around the teeth. We'll base coat the teeth in a minute, but I always find Volupus Pink is a really nice thing to just blotch in the entire inside of the mouth, all the teeth, make sure you don't miss anything. It's a really nice base coat for that. Lead Belcher was then used for all the metallic areas. I'm not going to be adding any gold or bronze or anything this to my Orcs. You can if you so choose, but for me, there's just going to be dark, dirty metals. So Lead Belcher is the perfect base coat to use for all of that. Some of them have little armor panels kind of riveted onto their jerkins. Some have obviously weapons, some have bangles. You just want to once again have to play Where's Wally with each model, take a minute or two and try and find all the parts on it that are supposed to be metallic. Zandri Dust was then introduced very quickly and used as the base coat for all the teeth. And like I said, you're not trying to get full coverage. You're just going to go for like the front of the tooth. It's okay to leave all the shadow as that purpley color. It will just it'll help separate the teeth a little bit more. It'll make them look really sharp and aggressive and awesome looking. It's really cool. It's a very simple technique, but it works a treat. After that, it's time to shade the model. For this, we're going to go with Agrek Surge Shade. Now, If I had a fresh pot of Seraphim Sepia on my table, I might have been inclined to use that instead. But unfortunately, my Sepia had gone bad. So I ditched it, and I didn't want to risk the miniature, so I went for brown, sorry. You can use brown, you can use sepia, whatever one you choose, just stick with it. Brown will work a treat with the Agros Earthshade. But like I said, if I had a fresh pot of sepia, I think I would choose to use that. It's a little bit softer, and the models will turn out a little bit brighter, but these dark color I think works a treat. So this is the tabletop standard. If you wanted to have an orc army and needed to paint it fast for a tournament, you could get the entire army to this stage in a day or two. It could be 50, 60, 70, 80 orcs. If you had a couple of days off, you could get them to this standard, absolutely no problem. It wouldn't be too much of a headache. It wouldn't be, each stage wouldn't drive you crazy. It would just take a little bit of time, a little bit of consistency, and a little bit of hard work, and you could get it there. Me personally, I would like to take them a step further, and that's what I'm going to show you in the rest of this video. I'm not going to be doing both orcs anymore because I want to have one to compare to at the end. So I'm just going to use this one with the two hand weapons, and I'm going to start layering him up, pulling the colors up, making him brighter, more orc-ish. So I'm going to start with War Boss Green as the layer color and apply this to the skin. And as you can see, I've switched to a fine pointed brush, and I'm being careful and adding like scratchy highlights to all of the skin. Try and leave the recesses that nice Plague Bear flesh washed with brown. You want that in all the recesses, just to really overemphasize that orc. I love the design, the aesthetical choice of an orc's head. It's so iconic that I really want to play that up. It's one of the main reasons why I do enjoy layering orcs so much, is the shape of the head. It's a real painter's dream. You'll find it this really nice rhythmic thing of getting those layered up. It's really fun. Scarsnick Green will then be the final highlight on the skin. You don't have to do two highlights if you don't want to. They will still look just great with just a single highlight of War Boss Green. Definitely a step up from just the contrast and the shade. But I like to add that last touch just to the skin. It's the only part of the model that I was doing two-stage highlight on. Every other part will just be a single coat of paint will be used to highlight each step. Once again, even though I want to take these a step further, it's still an orc army. I still don't want to be spending 9 hours layering up each stage with a unit of 30 orc boys. That's just not my jam. After the skin is ready to rock and roll, we're going to go with some Ushabti bone, and we're going to layer up those teeth again. We're going to go even less coverage than we did with the base coat. Almost like just a sharp line down the middle of each tooth, making sure to catch the kind of pointed bits at the end. Look how simple it was to get the mouth of an orc looking really slick, really cool. Zandri Dust was then used, and this is once again the color you would substitute. So if you decided to paint them red, you might have used Blood Angel's red contrast for the jerkin, washed it down exactly the same, and now you might be layering up with something like Mephiston red, or any other kind of combination of those two paints. But like I said, I want to keep it really neutral so that you guys can figure out what colors you want for yourself. So I'm going to go in with Zandri Dust and layer up his jerkin. Now I've googled some images of orc boy units. This is quite a traditional color for them. If you don't want to like dedicate them to blood axes or goths or whatever you will say, it's just stick with this. Catachan flesh was then used to highlight all of the brown parts we did. So basically just his pants, the shaft of his axe, his belt, and any other details that exist on your particular orc boy. Pouches, stuff like that. Now obviously I did the orc bow in black, so that wouldn't get layered up in brown and stuff like that. I also decided not to particularly layer up the handle of the axe. I like it that dark color. I didn't want it to blend into the same color as like the trousers. Ironbreaker was then brought in as a very quick highlight to all of the metallic bits. And as you can see, I'm just doing a few scratchy kind of just like tip highlights really. You're not trying to get anywhere near full cover. You're just trying to give the illusion of kind of scratched and scuffed metal, or is a little bit brighter on the edges, and a few dots here and there will really make the metallics kind of jump out and pop without adding in a whole lot of time or energy or effort or skill. To be honest with you, it's quite a simple technique. Because you're going up in slight increments, it doesn't particularly matter if you get it perfect. A bit of red painted onto his eyeball. This guy has got one eye is like slashed out, so he only has one. And orcs traditionally always have little red beady eyes. They're described in books all the time as having little red beady eyes. So with that, that's my layering job done on the orc boy. And here's an example of what it'll look like before and after. So you have your tabletop ready, and then you have your, not quite parade ready, but just, table ready plus or whatever kind of buzz crap word you want to use for it. Like I said, this isn't an amazing paint job, but it is painted. All the colors are in the right place. The miniature is based. If you were going to a tournament next week and you needed an army painted, fast, then this is the kind of technique I would go. If you then have a little bit more time after the tournament and you are so inclined, follow the steps on the other one to finish off your Orc boy to this standard, and I think the whole army as a whole will look fantastic. I'm going to have to get my hands on one of those new battle forces or two to really get my Orc army off the ground. So far I've been focusing monstrously on goblins. If you guys would like to see any videos on night goblins or anything about them, please do let me know as well, because I have a ton of them to get painted. Okay guys, and there we have it, the 2 Orc boys finished and ready for the tabletop in their different forms, if you will. I definitely enjoyed the process of trying to figure out how to make an Orc painted fast. The only thing I would probably change is the shade I used. Aggro Search shade was good, but it's a little bit darker than I wanted to. I would probably hit the model with an all-over sepia wash, which was actually my intention, but I was actually out of sepia, which is a bit of a whoa moment. So I do apologize for that. So if you want to follow along, maybe do a tester yourselves following the same steps. Throw a sepia wash on it and let me know what you guys think about that. But as it goes, I would definitely, like I said, get an entire army up to that standard first. If I had 80 Orc boys to paint or whatever, I would get them all up to the base coast and washed stage done, get all the models based, so then I can play games freely with them, and then over time layer them up and have them looking nicer with the second Orc. At least that's what I would do. Let me know what you guys would do in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings on this video, and what other Orc content you would like to see. I would like to get a bunch of more Orc videos out there before the Arcane Journal for the Dwarfs drop, and then I will focus on the little stunties and get some awesome videos ready for them as well. So if that's something that interests you, like I said, make sure you give this video a like. Ask me any questions you want in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future updates. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I'll see you in the next video.